AI Mentors is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our podcast, AI Mentors, brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI Mentors cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career.
You're listening to AI Mentors. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Kate Strachnyi. Kate is the founder of Story by Data, a newly founded DATAcated Academy. Kate, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Well, first of all, anyone who is on LinkedIn and interested in data science will know who you are. You're probably one of the most active people in LinkedIn when it comes to promoting all things data science, data visualization. So let's start with a background of where all this started. How did you first get involved in technology? What sort of roles did you hold along the way? And then taking us up to the many different projects that you're currently involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it all started back in Tajikistan. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to go that far, but that is where I'm from. I'll start with my first career. It actually started out in risk management and shifted to data analytics probably about 6 years ago when I was looking for an internal role, and I just simply didn't want to do the consulting lifestyle of working nights, weekends, and long hours, and accidentally fell into an internal role where I was in charge of pulling insights using Salesforce data and then using Tableau to pull those insights. That was really my first experience into data analytics. And I remember clearly trying to read up as much as I could about the topic so I can secure that job for longer than the allotted 6 months that I was told I would have it for. So my idea was I'll just do my best and be the best data visualization person there is in order to secure the position. And it actually worked, but as I continued on with my work, I would post things on LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube at the time as well. Meaning anything that I thought was difficult to learn, I would either create an article or record a video of myself doing that very thing that I thought was difficult so I could reference it later. And also thought if it helped me, maybe it'll help somebody else in the future. So that's really where it all started. And then I think just the data community is just so receptive of people who are on their journey that they basically, I've gained followers, I've made friends, and just started building this data analytics community with various initiatives, which I'll talk through a couple of them briefly, but I had initially started a Humans of Data Science video podcast, which still goes on. I have volunteers conducting those interviews at the moment, but I think we have close to 100 video podcasts completed with individuals in data science across different industries, different backgrounds, different regions and countries, very diverse group of people. And it really helped me get to know them personally because much like your podcast, they were also about 20 minutes in length, which is great for either a commute or a quick lunch break, right, where you can get to know somebody and get to know their story. And then I also started a DATAcated challenge where it was a weekly, but now it's a monthly challenge that people in the data community can participate in by writing blog articles on various topics, and then they can win a prize or a couple of prizes, which are either books or conference passes, and that varies throughout the time. But yeah, that's essentially how it all got started. Just trying to share my information and reference it for myself later, but then also helping the community, and that's how we got here.
Thank you very much. Well, it was your passion and interest which drove you to do all of these as extracurricular projects on top of your day-to-day job, but you've now since turned this into a full-time career. So please tell us about the newly launched DATAcated Academy. What was the origins behind it, and what is the objective, and who should be using it, whether it's individuals or organizations to educate their staff?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to chat about that. It actually is a very new initiative. So it launched less than 2 weeks ago. So June 15th was the official launch date of the Academy. As of now, there's one course on there, which is visual best practices, but I do have plans to expand this to several courses, likely all in the data visualization space, like advanced data visualization or using specific products like Tableau, Power BI, Click, R, Python, and seeing if I can expand that even further down the line. But the idea here is to create fun and short courses that are professionally designed and are not boring to sit through, and have high quality PowerPoints and, even projects that people could go on and share, and basically building a data visualization community, because there's also a Slack channel that's associated with the Academy. So extremely fun stuff. But before I even launched the Academy, so I have this Story by Data company, which is kind of the overarching company that owns the DATAcated Academy. And that's actually been focused on media partnerships, which is another thing that I really enjoy doing, is partnering with companies that have really cool products in the data science, machine learning, or AI space, and helping them reach the audience, either my audience or their audience on LinkedIn. So partnering with conferences and just software companies, and trying to help them share their message with my audience.
Thank you. Yeah, and if for anyone listening who's follows you, we've seen some great partnerships, notably from the event side, ODSC, and some major firms. So for people listening who face the challenge of getting the broader workforce educated and up to speed on how data can impact the business, what have you been doing with your clients to help educate the wider business on the impact of data? And can you give us an example of a particular organization who would come to you for help, and what it is you're able to do for them?
Yeah, so as of now, I'm mostly focused on training their individuals on how to become data literate, and also developing their own data visualizations that are effective at communicating their story. Because you can have all the data in the world, but if you can't get the insights into the right minds or hands of the leaders that have to make the decisions, then it's not really worth much, right? So I think a lot of companies are struggling with that, because they have a lot of data. I forget the statistics. I think there was 80% or so of data collected is not actually used. And it could be for different reasons, right? It could be because it's just not useful, right? Or it could be because the organization is not sure how to either put data sources together to pull insights, or even take separate data sources and pull insights from there. Other things I've seen is, you have a great visualization expert who puts something together, but can't really communicate that to the business or the leaders that have to make decisions using that data. So I think there are several gaps in the process, but I do see a lot of improvement, specifically with the help of data visualization software like Tableau, Click, and Power BI, that just really makes it easy for even the business user to go ahead and grab that tool. And I've taught several individuals that it's not that scary, right? If you've only used Excel in the past, then trust me, this is even easier. To those listening, if you want to get started with analyzing, visualizing data, these drag and drop tools make it extremely easy for you to do so. And then just taking it a step further, learning about some of the best practices is what I would recommend.
Excellent. I want to get your take on navigating the broader data community as a career, because you and I have talked previously about the various different roles that are popping up, and it can be difficult for an individual to know where they can go and how many different opportunities are available. So, speaking as somebody who has found the niche that you were interested in, and I've now turned it into a full-blown career, what guidance or advice can you offer to people who are early on their journey, whether they are junior data engineers, data analysts, associate data scientists? And the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know about this space. So how should an individual start to shape their own career direction? What advice could you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. This goes back to, I think, when I was in college, I was studying for a finance degree, and I remember trying to get interviews, and then people would ask me, so what do you want to do? And I would say, finance. And now, several years later, I'm like, that was probably not a smart answer, because you can't really get a job just by saying finance. You have to tell people exactly what it is you want to do or can do and can accomplish. So I think my advice here is to start anywhere. Start where you are, right? If you're a data analyst and you want to venture into becoming a data scientist, or getting, to be a data engineer, or even, chief data officer, whatever your ambitions might be, I think starting where you are and just learning as much as you can about the different roles that are out there. And there really are several different roles, and sometimes a data analyst is doing the job of a data scientist, and sometimes a data scientist is doing the job of a data analyst. And I think there are different reasons behind this. One, I think, could be a lack of definition and agreement on what the roles are responsible for. And another one is partly around compensation, where I think in some cases people might want to call themselves a data scientist versus data analyst in the hopes of, potentially making more money, or organizations I heard are, putting out roles asking for data analysts, but when you read the job description, you see that they're really looking for like a senior data scientist, but don't want to pay for that. So I think that there are some organizations out there, like I'm on an advisory board for an organization called IADS, which I believe is the Initiative of Analytics and Data Science Standards. But they're really trying to define the different roles. So if anyone's interested in actually looking into that, they've done extensive surveys and interviews with various leaders in different organizations, trying to get definitions around roles in this space, because I think we're still not there. But again, back to the advice is starting where you are and just doing a great job there, but then also just trying to learn what other people in the organization are doing with data and trying to see what interests you, because just because something is sounds like it's making more money or it sounds more interesting, it doesn't always mean it is. So I think exploring and just trying to shadow those people or helping out on little projects here and there would give you that exposure.
Absolutely. Question for yourself and how you manage to juggle the multiple different projects that you're involved in, as well as staying current with the newest technologies, because obviously a big focus now for you is educating people on the best practices. So how do you balance all of the projects plus allowing time to continuously upskill, and then also allowing, activities outside of work? Because I know you're a mom, you're an avid runner. So how are you able to juggle all of these things and still accomplish all that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually come up before. And I think passion plus time management, for me, people always ask me, oh, how do you do all these things on LinkedIn? And I ask them, oh, how do you watch Netflix for 6 hours, right? For me, this is my Netflix. This is what I actually enjoy doing. So I think it doesn't even require balance or effort in a lot of cases, because I truly, truly love engaging with the data community. So for me, it's just effortless, but I do know it also takes time, right? So just time blocking has actually helped me quite a bit, where, sometimes you have a busy professional who has a full-time job and they don't want to take time away from their job to, let's say, do some social media to help build their brand in the data community. I think if you're blocking 30 minutes a day, let's say right before you start work or during your lunch break or a little bit after work, whatever works for you, time blocking definitely helps, because you no longer have that guilt of, oh, I'm doing social media during work hours, and you're essentially focused on doing that specific thing that you want. So time blocking is one of my saviors.
I think it's a great point, the prioritization of what you want to accomplish, and then there's only so many hours in the day, you decide what's most important, and you'll find yourself focusing on that more than this stuff that's not. So looking ahead then, so a new venture for you, DATAcated Academy, went live 2 weeks ago. It's funny because you and I spoke pre-COVID, just as COVID was hitting. We were talking about, embarking on a startup and making that leap, and, quite an interesting time to do it. But you go all in on these things and you make it work. What has been the learning experience for you in doing this, and what are you most excited about when you look at the near future for the Academy and Story by Data, and what else can we expect from you?
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we did speak a few months back, and that's when I was planning my launch, and I have zero regrets, though I didn't know at that time that we're going into a global pandemic, right? So this was a risk, but I actually think it's worked out in my favor, because especially with the media company and also with the DATAcated Academy, it's all online, right? And I think people have been forcibly, in some cases, and in others, they're just willingly, have been placed into basically a place in their life where they have to be online versus going to conferences, right? So as an example, there are some companies that I've engaged with for media partnerships that had plans to sponsor booths at conferences. and they no longer can do that, but they had marketing budget. So they were able to engage me to conduct a LinkedIn live session instead, where they can still, talk about their product very, very indirectly, because most of my LinkedIn live sessions are 99% educational or entertaining, hopefully. But it also gives them another platform to go out and talk about their product and services. And similarly with the DATAcated Academy, I had plans to conduct some in-person training for some organizations, and they've also gone online. And basically my academy is coming in at the right time, because now they can leverage those pre-recorded courses that I already have in that academy.
That's amazing. So as we start to anticipate the world post-COVID and you add in these new courses, what is going to be the evolution of DATAcated Academy? Where do you envisage it being in 2 to 3 years' time?
2-3 years time is a very long time. Oh my goodness, I have no idea. I think in terms of weeks and months, but let's see. Let's try to do some prediction. If the world goes back to normal, I think one other thing you can expect me to get back into is actually attending conferences. I had plans to speak at several international conferences, and I was really looking forward to it, because we get to see London and Budapest, and spend more time on the West Coast, and really looking forward to that. So hopefully I can get back into doing that. But in addition to conference hopping, I would also engage more in-person, physical, live data visualization training, which I started quite a bit last year, but would definitely get into doing more of that. So I would have the recorded sessions and then getting into physical training.
Amazing. We certainly know you're always going to be busy. I want to ask some questions from the perspective of an aspiring data professional. When you look at the current landscape of career opportunities in data science, analytics, visualization, before one gets going and they start to experiment with what they like, if you were speaking to a class of seniors or somebody looking to make a career change, what would you offer as being, important tips or pieces of advice that would help somebody make the transition from academia into industry or career change, anything involved within the world of data?
So my advice would be to do a project either by yourself or as a team. And I typically advise people to do an individual project, because that will give you the exposure into what it looks like from start to finish. And it will, one, tell you and show you if you're actually interested in working with data, because I feel like it's advertised as one of the hottest fields and hottest jobs of the century. But there are also individuals that get into it and truly hate it. They hate the entire process. They don't like working with data. They get frustrated. The data cleaning, data wrangling, the coding. So I'd say definitely do a project on your own. And the way to go about that is you can either use Kaggle, where they have multiple data sets you can work with, or just download any data set, right? There are so many government websites that are now providing data to the public. And ask a question from the data, and then go ahead and review the data, look at the data, try to answer those questions. And I always say go a step further and actually present your findings in a video and post that video on social media, or at least show it to your colleagues and friends so that they can provide feedback, specifically those colleagues that actually know about data analytics, data science, that can give you pointed feedback of how you can improve. And that also helps you practice your communication and presentation skills, which I think are really important in this space.
And also sign up to the DATAcated Academy. You left that part out.
Absolutely, sign up to the DATAcated Academy.
Great. Kate, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time, just given your presence in the data community. It's amazing to see how you're able to do so much and still have such energy and enthusiasm for it. Final question is, what keeps you engaged to this level? What do you love most about what you do?
I think it's the people in the data community, honestly, and that's how the whole thing started. I remember making my first post on LinkedIn, and I got like 3 likes and 1 comment, and I was like, oh my goodness, these people care. And my post was about setting goals and I think passing some kind of data certification, and they were cheering me on, people I didn't even know. So I think I fell in love with the feedback that I get from the data community, and that's kind of what drives me.
Great. And look, for anyone listening, it all starts with one post. Kate has now built a fully fledged, amazing business just by sharing content, sharing her story. So we encourage everyone else to do the same. Kate, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you continue to accomplish great things.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.